I have the good fortune to have John with me today, who's out there living with a lot of our clients and seeing a lot of the things that are happening in digital plants and things like that. I feel like bonds, as he said yesterday, they didn't give me all my slides. Well, same thing here. They didn't give me all my slides, so it isn't very slide intensive. For those of you that were with us last year in San Antonio, Max Pagella talked about the importance of reliability, data, information in the C-suite. So we're going to take that, build upon that, and basically just, it's not going to be an Accenture commercial by no means. We want to give you some insights and really a continuation of what Bonds and Professor Porter was talking about yesterday, just total digital disruption that you're living, that's out there, that we see with all our clients, and some of the things that people are doing. We'll go into that, and we'll show you 2 or 3 videos of, beyond the theory again, like Professor Porter said, real clients like Joy Global implementing digital in a way to improve performance for their businesses. So the attorneys are happy. So whatever we say, you can't hold our word to it. It's a risk. Now, if we really, really quiet, I think we just bought another company. So we're a very large company. As you saw yesterday with the ticker, right? Well, it's the same thing here. I mean, we're 323,000 people as of this morning, I believe, unless we bought somebody today. And $30 billion in revenue our last fiscal year, 4,000 clients, 40 industries. Today I'm going to be focused a lot on heavy asset-intensive industries, our resources practice that I'm in and John's in. So we've got a relationship, Meridian, for a long-standing relationship. It really works well with a lot of our clients. You can see on the left-hand side, we bring a lot of operational excellence, digital consulting capabilities to the table, along with, as you guys know, as clients of Meridian, their capabilities, and together it's a great relationship for our clients. Again, build upon what we saw yesterday. This is probably even more than, this was in December when we did our research. In 1 minute, look at how many people are connected, right, to the internet and interact. It's amazing, right? So this digital disruption has really changed the way things are happening in the manufacturing world, but also in our social world. Again, the explosion, and the sensor thing is just incredible. I was talking to people last night, and they're like, in their work environments, how much sensors they're putting in certain places. I mean, just look at how many sensors in that one wheel of a mining truck, right? That's unbelievable. By 2020, there'll be another 212 billion sensors out there. It's incredible. And you can see some of the other data going across, 25 billion devices, 4.4 billion apps. I mean, it's all about the apps, right? In a couple more years. Incredible. So it can be overwhelming, right? Like we learned yesterday. And it's just, what do you do with all this now that you never had before? And there's significant value. This is a Cisco study. We also have some information, too, that validates this. Digital can be a huge enabler to extract value for your company. 14.4 trillion, and 5 of that, or a third of it, is in productivity and asset utilization, right? So embracing the digital disruption, leveraging digital technologies can add significant value for your company. And if you look at the asset-intensive industries that I'm involved in and John's involved in, you just take an average $2 billion company, the impact it can have on EBIT in these key areas, and some case studies and industry case studies we have, is tremendous. I mean, it could be over $100 million, is what we see. Yeah. So we're here to talk about the bottom part here, mostly, right? Digital plant, digital operations, digitalizing processes. But what we see, the companies that are getting this right, they have a balanced approach to handling this. They also look at the revenue side of it. It's a huge enabler to grow the company. So the ones that have a good strategy in place have this balance of focusing externally, revenue generating, those digital channels to market, the commercial side of it, along with the operational side. And together, you can get after that $14.4 trillion of value. So then you end up being a true digital business. And so you've got to have a good balance in your strategy. And then with that, it's clearly, we're here now to talk about the disruption we're seeing in how to leverage digital within plant and manufacturing operations. And these are some of the things on the left-hand side we talked about yesterday that we're going to go deeper into now within the four walls of a manufacturing environment.
One of the things we're talking here is we've basically come up with this second industrial revolution. We've really changed the way we're operating. It's all around the IT-OT convergence. Most of the plants out there, most of the companies are looking at some way that they're going to increase their overall connectivity, their digital domain, their digital plant in the coming years. So there's a lot of investment to recoup, that $114 billion that he brought up on the previous slide. How do we get that slice of the pie? What are we going to do to either increase our asset uptime, or what are we going to do to, in a lot of cases, especially if you're in the energy area right now, what are we going to do to reduce costs? Get closer to that zero-based budgeting, and how can we do that by knowing what's going on at our facilities versus making these assumptions? And having that real-time communication, real-time capability is really what's going to help us get closer to those cost control events. So from a manufacturing sense, we're really looking at a connected digital worker. This could be anything from a tablet, this could be a life safety device indicating that they're okay, that they're in an area that's acceptable for them to be in, an area that they're permitted to be in or certified to be in, or maybe they're in an area they shouldn't be. You probably saw some of the other solutions QuantaPoint's got. You could be out there with your tablet and indicate that you have trouble and show you the closest place to go shelter in place. There's a lot of different areas that we can enable that plant worker. We're also talking about connecting the plants and the assets. We're pulling in this information real time versus having somebody drive out in a truck, spend that dashboard time that's a loss of efficiency that we saw on the previous slide. We're able to get this information back real time, gain those efficiencies. And then connecting the networks. So one of the things that we're able to look at is how do we talk about it in Meridium all the time, how do we benchmark against each other? Well, we can look at real time, where are we having specific issues in some of our other plants and perhaps predict where future issues may be coming in at our other facilities. So those are some of the different areas that we're looking at that are able to bring together some of the information and allow us to leverage that and collaborate between the different facilities. So again, from an organizational standpoint, lets us standardize, lets us all make sure we're doing things the same way, lets us report the issues that we're having and be able to leverage the support from other plants that may have had the same issues. It also allows us to perform those higher level analytics at more of an enterprise level versus just singularly at a plant level. From a worker standpoint, we left out the slide. One of our customers was actually even looking at what I would call an industrial Google Glass. They were going to go augmented reality. Use it for a couple different platforms. One, be able to look at a scenario and establish where some of the safety issues that are in there, or also be able to look at it from a training environment, be able to pull up the different information about what they were looking at. A couple different areas. Now also we have some customers that are literally giving us real-time information. So when I talked before about having that remote operations center, what if I was now able to go out in the field and provide that same engineer, not a phone call back and saying, hey, this is what I saw, but I could actually go point my helmet or point my camera at the device to see if he could see something that looked, perhaps I'm putting at the device, some of the gauges that are there. I'm giving him real-time information. I'm giving them real-time feedback to those folks and leveraging that capability in different locations. Of course, we've got the different gas monitors, some of the GPS receivers. We'll show you a pretty cool video in here of how we've leveraged some of the GPS capability, some of the turnaround work that we've done very recently. Those are all some of the ways that we're making that digital worker come to life.
Robinson Refinery is a very large industrial facility. It's on 900 to 1,000 acres. You've got a very intense processing facility, you have tank farm, and then you also have off-site operations as well.
It's a very complicated refinery with a lot of steel, a lot of concrete, and as a consequence, keeping an eye on all your workers is important.
Well, what keeps me awake at night is somebody being exposed to a toxic gas like hydrogen sulfide, and then that individual going down and us not being able to respond in a timely manner.
We knew that nothing existed in the market. We had looked for man-down type technology for our employees. We wanted multi-gas detectors. We wanted to be able to remotely monitor what the detectors were telling us. So we decided to look for partnering opportunities to develop the functionality we were looking for.
We had tested several systems here. They just weren't successful. I was excited when Accenture came on and showed the development or what they thought could happen.
So the solution we came up with was the Accenture Life Safety Solution. It includes a gas detector, which is a 4-gas detector, gases like H2S, O2, LEL, and SO2. And it also includes a panic button if they have a medical emergency. And then obviously the most important thing is if there is an emergency, you have to be able to find them. So the other part of the equation is we have the mechanism to find the people as well.
Now I have a monitor that is worn by the operator the whole day they're here. It is associated to that operator where I know the name of the person, I know where they're at, and I know what their environment is while they're out there.
With the monitor on, at least someone knows where I'm at, what I might be being exposed to, and that information is going right to the board, and they can just contact me on the radio if something comes up on my alarm panel.
Now, if there's an alarm, we're getting it right up here on the life safety solution. Just like right now, if we would want to go over here and look at an operator, we know where he's at on the unit, and if we click on him, you can see that we can tell what the oxygen level is right now, what the hydrogen sulfide limit is right now, and it gives us a quicker opportunity to make better decisions.
Accenture Life Safety Solutions, there's 4 partners associated with it. There's Accenture. Accenture is the overall program manager. We have Industrial Scientific with the gas detector. The location component is supplied by AeroScout, and then the whole thing is actually pulled together over the Cisco wireless infrastructure.
Marathon and Accenture worked together to develop the functionalities that were needed and bring all the technologies to bear.
They question, they give us good ideas, good feedback on other things to consider, and we basically worked as a team side by side until the development of the process was done.
We've showed it to some of the personnel out here in the field. I've been kind of surprised at what we could deliver as far as all the things the device can do and wireless and all the alarm possibilities it could see. I don't think they thought that technology perhaps was available yet, and I think those were pleasant surprises for them.
The employee acceptance has been outstanding. The Robinson Refinery workers realize this is a system to protect them.
What's really nice about this is we use this solution to cover the plant proper, but then we had issues is how do you cover remote facilities. And so what Accenture's done is we've actually mounted mobile APs in vehicles and then transmitted through a G3 network. So for example, we have a facility that's roughly 7 miles away, and it tracks the individual as they go through, and then when they go do their rounds around our water wells, they know where they are.
The world's the limit now. Once the wireless infrastructure has been set up and put out there, we have looked at other items such as little kiosks with laptops out there on the units, which will allow the operators to get operating procedures, access certain forms, being able to fill out inspection reports. It just opens up another whole realm that again, 3 to 4 years ago was just unimaginable.
With the life safety solution, you can make a better decision on how to mitigate the situation in a faster amount of time.
I see the life safety solution is helping improve safety across the refining industry, chemical plants, and other processing facilities. More important, I'm just really proud that we piloted and then implemented the application here at the Robinson Refinery, and really a first anywhere in the world.
So if we look at it from a digital asset management sense, so that was safety. Now we want to talk about it from how do we increase our asset uptime. You know, with what we've got happening with all the sensors pouring in, we've got data coming in from all sorts of areas, as we talked about before. How do we organize that data? How do we get to the data that we need in order to perform the analytics that we need to? Again, it's having that capability to look at it from a tactical standpoint. So our technicians, our reliability engineers, being able to look at it from a literally right down to the pump level, the motor level, whatever that individual asset is, to more of a fleet level. We could be looking at, have the rotating equipment engineer looking at it that one level up and seeing where my systemic issues were versus my tactical issues that I had to get to immediately. And then perhaps a corporate reliability engineer looking at that dashboard from an even higher level to see where am I having problems not only at this specific plant and a systemic issue, where am I having problems across my whole fleet. So it allows us to aggregate that data and, of course, benchmark that against ourselves, but also against our competitors and people in like industries as well. We take that data and we can actually execute from that, and that's where we start connecting it into the field. We're connecting it into the field with your work order plans, but also with the issuing of work orders or work notifications. So we're out in the field, see something's wrong, we can take our tablet, we can take a picture of it. That immediately uploads into the system so that we visually know what the problem is, we know exactly what we're talking about, or there's no confusion. And then it goes into the system, or we're out there executing and we can actually real-time track that work that's being done. Makes it much more of an efficiency when we come to planning and scheduling. Those are all generating those data points that we can use for better analytics to bring that efficiency to organizations and, of course, increase that uptime, decrease the cost, and make it overall more efficient. So, again, leveraging all that information, but don't just have the information coming in, actually use it and do something with it. I want to show you a quick video. It's a little quicker than the last one. You'll see one of our coworkers in there, Scott Tavarro, as well, folks from the Rio Tinto. That's where this was taken, this video is done. This was a kind of a leading innovative thing that was brainstormed by Scott and a number of folks at Rio Tinto. And they said, we want to be able to track our workers and make sure, and again, it started out more as a safety issue as the previous one, but then they said, you know what? We can do something better with this. We can really look at worker productivity. We can also look at, as I discussed before, the different zones that people were certified to be in. Thousands of contractors on site. Guess what? Almost all of them union. We had over 75% worker acceptance of this RFID tagging. I know I saw a couple faces out there go, oh my God.
We twisted a few arms. But.
It was at first, it was a little bit of a realization when we said we're going to do this, but really, what it actually ended up doing, and you'll see it in here, it was neat because it ended up expanding and getting into not only people but equipment.
What we wanted to do through this proof of concept was to use existing technology to allow us to track individual movements of contractors through the plant. By doing that, and then integrating with other data sources, we create this data-rich environment where we're able to drive safety, productivity, and commercial improvements. Fatigue management is something that we're looking at tracking. We're looking at tracking how vehicles and pedestrians interact, as well as the amount of time that the assets, particularly vehicles, overhead cranes, are being utilised. Commercially, we're seeing some benefits around being able to reconcile work hours with the hours that were being billed, as well as the productivity uptime that people spent actually doing tasks versus doing administrative work.
It actually came about by talking with Mark Rivers on the procurement side, initially just to say, how do we want to capture data for tracking purposes? All that came together to really identify a partnering opportunity where both Accenture and Rio Tinto invested to do something that we've kind of dubbed innovation at scale.
It was a huge collaborative effort in terms of the number of people and entities that were involved, certainly Accenture, GBS within Rio Tinto, and then certainly Kennecott here. And the Kennecott involvement was diverse as well, and that involved the smelter, it involved our contractor management group, it involved engineering services, which is my team, and just a number of folks and different entities here at Kennecott as well.
So the purpose of having the tags in place was to be able to actually track where people were at any given time. In the past, we knew sort of who was coming on site and who was leaving at the end of the day, but we never knew where they were any given time. So the tracking would actually allow us to know where people would be and then be able to tie that back with the projects that they were working on. How long once they came to site did it take for them to go from their initial entering the gate to their meetup areas, then getting out to the productive areas, how much they were having to walk back and forth to tool rooms to pick up tools, or how much time they were actually spending in the assigned productive work areas, and to get an understanding of what that division of travel time versus productive time was.
We wanted to prove the concept that we could track contractors because there's benefits on safety, there's benefits on doing reconciliation for bills, and there's benefits for productivity. So if we could do it for a big shutdown like this and see where the savings are and collect the data, we could perhaps prove up the concept to use it for not only other shutdowns elsewhere within Rio Tinto, but also use it for contractor management during normal operations.
We realized what a huge opportunity the smelter shutdown is in terms of gathering data and trialing this system, because we have roughly 2,000 contractors on site a day for the smelter shutdown, and so it was a huge opportunity to capture data, try the system, and learn as much as we can. And so that was one of the real success stories, I think, is that we implemented it quickly so that we could capture that opportunity, because our smelter shutdowns only come around every couple of years.
One of the things that it let us do was actually find equipment. Occasionally it happens during a shutdown that one contractor or someone may borrow equipment from another contractor, and so we were able to use the tags to be able to go find where that was within a pretty small distance. And so that became a request that we would get. Someone would come to us and say, hey, do you know where this piece of equipment was? And we were able to find it. We also had the issue sometimes with light vehicles being in certain locations, blocking access, and we were able to very quickly find the people who owned the vehicles and get them moved out so that it didn't have an interference with the work that was going on.
The benefit of all this data, and we integrate it with other existing data sources such as Gate Pass, ERM and others, is it's going to allow us to plan shutdowns more safely, more productively, and at less cost to us in the future. We also think there's potential spin-offs in the operational space as well, not just for large shuts.
It was really a positive experience to see the leadership coming together across Kennecott, the vendors, and us to figure out how can we expand the usage of this tool set to aid and improve in even the productivity on the vendor side.
I think I'm most proud about the collaboration that we did with the other teams. This took a very, very short time to get implemented. It was done within 70 days, so that took a lot of collaboration, a lot of knocking down barriers and working with people. And one of the interesting things is when we started this project was people were worried about the contractors and would they accept it, and we were very pleased that we had a high participation from the contractors with this new technology.
I'm really, really pleased with the work that's gone on. Not only have we seen great support from a variety of people coming together, we've seen great acceptance of it by our suppliers. It's been done in a very collaborative, cooperative spirit. We've had to smash through some technology breakthroughs. Wiring up the smelter, creating the right platform for this technology was quite challenging and required us to do a whole bunch of firsts that had never been done before.
So in the future, we hope that we'll be able to use these tags both in the areas of safety to be able to understand better where people are and how their interactions are with equipment, as well as supporting productivity to be able to better allocate where equipment needs to be and generally have an improvement both in terms of shutdown and day-to-day operations.
So that was a neat project. As you can see, it was a pretty quick timeline there to go from the actual execution of it, the concept of it, and getting it all done. One of the things that they talked about doing this very quickly was, back to our pervasive wireless. Well, how did we get all that going in that short period of time? Well, we designed these backpacks that actually had the Wi-Fi data points in them that would be the one that would basically triangulated the positions, and they were strategically placed around the facility in these yellow backpacks that were attached to all sorts of different things. You saw the one person with the RFID on their elbow or on their arm. The most common spot was actually tucked up inside the hard hat. That was the one spot all the guys out in the field tended to like to put it, because they could, if they need to, they take it off and hit the emergency button. You also heard about them saying that, listen, they first brought it on, they were worried about it, but then they wanted more and more people to use it. The contractors realized they could track a lot more, productivity of their own people, make sure they were getting the value they expected out of their people. And also from the mobile equipment. It started with people, but went to equipment too. I've got a JLG that was sitting on site. When I actually look at the analytics on it, I only used it for a day out of 7. And I hadn't rented for all this time. I was playing, demurrage on it. There's no reason for that. It's allowed them to get more efficient, increase their margins. They thought that was great.
That was a huge business case for these guys.
And of course, there was some.
In the bills, like he talked about, reconciliation, things like
That's actually what we're going back and doing now. I said I was in power. I built 2 power plants within the borough of Queens and around New York City. Sometimes there's a little bit of a fleecing of the customer in areas like that. I mean, I know that may shock you that still happens in this day and age, but it was we went back and did some forensic accounting to try to recoup some of that money. When you've got real-time data of the in and out of all these people, when they're going into break areas and coming back out, you have a pretty good argument of the work hours that are being charged to you. But I think it's more important is looking at the people as assets. Just like the equipment that's out in the field, our people are our assets. And I think that's one of the areas why it got so much buy-in from them. If you look at the most recent strike that was going on, some of the problems that caused that strike and caused it to keep going on was the overworking of people and fatigue. Well, this was one of the areas that we could actually track that. And they tracked fatigue, and they tracked those safety margins there for those people. And, it allowed them to make sure that they were not being overworked, but, worked to the right level, and they could justify that and show the analytics. So that was important there. They're really actually set up a command control center for that, but they could also remotely view that anywhere they wanted to. I was actually just in the office in Houston on Monday, and one of our new hires who's on a project doing this up in Calgary said, "Come on over here, John, check this out." She could showing all the workers moving around the facility up in another facility in Calgary. It's quite interesting. The back-end transactional analytics is dashboards. They could start to see what was working well, what wasn't, and be able to track that. It wasn't just all about safety, but it was about productivity as well. And in the end, that was going to, from a cost standpoint, really help them recoup the investment literally hundreds of times over from that project itself. The location visibility, again, allowed us to see real time where everybody was. Also from the equipment standpoint, I know if I've got a I can immediately look out and see that my equipment is nearby. I can gain efficiencies that way as well. And the wireless infrastructure, that one was temporary, but enabled us to go back up real quick and put that in place.
That was the beauty of it. You can just come in and come back out. Mobile solution, like a service, then a big turnaround. So you don't have to do the full commitment to Wi-Fi enable your whole place for that.
And the big thing with that is how do we pull this all together? How do we take all these different digital applications or different digital tools and embed them into one platform? We've got a lot of great things that are being built out here, but how do we combine that so that we've got one area that we can look into, or minimize the total number of areas that we have to look into and leverage all that data? So that's one of the continuing challenges that we look at. How do we look at it from one platform when we've got Meridian pulling in some information, SAP pulling in information? You talked about System 1, all those different things. How do I look at it in one area and allow us to make decisions based on all the aggregated input versus a decision based on this application and one based on this application? So that's where we continue to look at how do we leverage that and how do we pull that all together and do that for not only for the technician but also for the person that's looking at it tactically, but the higher level folks that are looking at it from an overall strategic sense.
The Internet of Things is the 4th generation industrial revolution, which is set to make a fundamental shift in the way plants and factories operate today. The challenges faced in industrial automation are enormous. Today's manufacturing industry generally lacks the ability to work across different plants and lacks global plant visibility. This, coupled with unpredictable downtime, costs millions of dollars. Remote expert collaboration tools, managing big data from sensors and using predictive analytics have become of paramount importance at plant and factory floors. Accenture is actively working with our clients to help overcome some of these industrial manufacturing challenges by harnessing the potential of connectivity to sense and control industrial devices. Accenture Industrial Software Solutions is a worldwide organization that spans the globe and has industry domain experts who focus on industrial plant and factory solutions. This strong workforce of engineers, along with Accenture's multi-million-dollar investment in this space, is creating digital manufacturing solutions to meet the challenges faced by clients. Accenture's Digital Plant is an end-to-end industrialized solution. Digital Plant Solution is a catalog of services that covers remote monitoring, predictive maintenance, global visibility dashboards, expert video collaboration, and security. To accelerate deployment of digital capabilities, Digital Plant leverages existing industrial Internet of Things platforms such as Microsoft's Azure IoT services and Accenture's Digital Connected Products platform. Digital Plant shows how big data can be harnessed to produce meaningful reports and insights. It provides an effective dashboard with key performance indicators such as overall equipment efficiency and quality in real time. This helps management to have complete visibility by comparing how their plants are operating globally. Digital Plant's predictive maintenance framework predicts the failure or any maintenance needs of a device. It further reduces the downtime by alerting the plant manager if the device is not available in the inventory and raising the purchase order automatically. Some operational errors in the plant are unavoidable. However, our expert collaboration service, armed with live video streaming, provides critical information instantly and makes the recovery of the system much faster. You need not be physically near the machine or inside the plant. Using our remote monitoring feature allows you to receive alarms and critical plant status securely and remotely from anywhere and on any device. Imagine customized human-machine interface screens being built in hours instead of weeks. Imagine operators and executives with the freedom to choose what they view. HMI Design Studio helps you build, deploy and configure the user interface for all digital plant services without having to program a single line of code. The Universal Plant Gateway interfaces with any standard as well as non-standard system in a plant with the help of Industrial Protocols implementation. The other end of the gateway securely connects plant data to external subsystems. In summary, Accenture's Digital Plant solution not only improves the operational efficiency and productivity of the plant, but gives you the opportunity to boost revenue by driving unconventional growth through the industrial Internet of Things. Accenture Industrial Software Solutions, taking your plant to a new level of digitization.
So again, if we discussed, there's a number of different tools that are out there, especially Meridian being one. When we look at that last example of bringing all that data together, Meridian was one of the inputs oftentimes to that overall data landscape and data integration landscape. So we're pulling all the information together and trying to give it the best overall tool to the worker that's either on the floor or sitting in the office. And
final slide, just to summarize it up. Getting your strategy right, clearly, is important in a balanced way, like we talked about earlier, commercial and operations. And then the hard part, in the middle part, the execution of that strategy to make it real, like you saw in the video stage. and a lot of you are on that journey right now, to ultimately get to a really digitally enabled plant and a digital workforce and a digital business. And then a lot of enablers underneath, and working that change journey and taking people through that change journey and operating in a new way is the big challenge, right?